Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago. Today is Monday, the 1st of June. Congratulations, we have made it thus far. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment and the host of this show, Pep Talks in the Morning, every Monday to Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Welcome. Also welcoming this morning, I'm welcoming Michelle Davis, our Deputy Party Organizer and my co-host for the program this morning. Good morning, Michelle.
Good morning, Felicia. Good morning, Trinidad and Tobago.
I said earlier, congratulations, we made it thus far because this year has been touch and go as it pertains to making it another month in this in this world. Can't just say in this country, the entire world right now is a completely different place from what it was come December last year when we all clinked glasses and said happy New Year, happy 2020. We all had our calendars planning what the year would have been like. For many people, the months between February and June, July are going to be blank and empty months. Unless, of course, you would have picked up some new trade or something to pass the time that you spent under COVID 19 lockdown.
Yes. Yes, indeed, Felicia. It is almost a surreal experience when you look at it to see that you're living through a pandemic. The last pandemic the world experienced was, 100 years ago. So to see us actually going through this in this modern age, it's almost baffling. Even though you're going through it, you cannot even believe that this is happening. I think I went out, left my hometown, my village, for the first time last week, Friday, since March 13th. I have not driven, I have not
Oh,
engaged in
really?
any outside activities. So it was very surreal going to the next village, going to Point Fortin and having to shop and getting used to the new normal, as we say.
Indeed, and I can't. Yesterday, I went to PriceSmart. I had some things to pick up, and I say this every time I go someplace, and I discover that I didn't bring my mask with me, and I have to turn back and go to the car. You can probably see me grumbling under my breath because it just the new normal. It has not registered to me yet. I am, and I hate things on my face. Hate to feel restricted. So every time I have to go somewhere and I reach the door and the security say no mask, no entry, I'm like, good Lord, here I have to go again. And I think about when I have to tell my children one day the story of when their mother spent her spent the first half of 2020 under lockdown. I try to imagine what that experience, what that might be like, them listening to what my experience was, if they might even believe that such a thing. I mean, if my grandmother told me that she lived through, or my mom told me that she lived through a period in history where they were all locked in their homes for 4 or 5 months, they can leave. When they leave, they had to wear masks, they had to wash their hands. It sounds like something out of a movie, something that
Yes.
you that you might see coming to cinemas on August the 25th, 20. I mean, but the truth is, this is literally our reality. And
Yes.
part of our reality as well is that today, June the 1st, is back to business in TNT. We have moved up, well, phase three has moved up. It was actually scheduled to open on the 4th of June. We're now opening today on the 1st of June. And according to the headlines, it's back to business in TNT 1 week ahead. We have establishments like the retail industry, reopening the malls, the bookshops, the dental services, occupational health therapy, professional services such as engineers and architects, as well as the public service resuming, I guess, today. And I could tell that there was
Mhm.
something different. When I woke up this morning, the usual hustle and bustle that you would hear prior to COVID-19, and you might probably hear it in the on the program this morning. Cars are passing, horns are honking, because I live on the outskirts of the city. So you're hearing the economic activity, um, I guess, resume and build up to where it was. But I mean, it doesn't come without It's questions. And we're here this morning to discuss those questions and concerns that it raises for many citizens here in Trinidad and Tobago. And please take this moment to hit share on the live, share to your group, share to your news feeds. I'm really interested to see what the audience would be like this morning, seeing as we have a percentage of the population going back out to work. But still, let's see where this goes. I know we have a lot of support, both local and overseas. So we will see what it is like this morning. Misha, what are your thoughts on the reopening of phase three 1 week ahead, back to business in TNT?
Definitely, I am in support of phase three of the economy getting back to what we perceive as the new normal. I am in favor based on the health statistics that we've experienced. I mean, prior to that announcement, we had not experienced any new COVID-19 cases in a month. So, I mean, based on the health factors, I will consider that because, I've been an advocate of that, that it is safe for the country to go out. I'm still concerned that some businesses are not able to open. The hairdressers, the barbers, they're still kind of I think they're next week. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so there are some citizens and small business owners that continue to suffer. I mean, we're not expecting the bars to open too recent because of the obvious possibility of any spread. So we understand that. But I am glad to see the economy. One thing I have noticed, as you know, I lecture and I'm an advocate of work remote work. So what the government has adapted is the remote work policy. So for those that are coming out today, they will not report to work every day this week. So that is extremely proactive. We've kind of been forced, Felicia, into a first world method of working because in the U.S. in Europe they have adapted the remote work lifestyle for quite a bit now. So we were extremely behind in that. So it is good to note that they are going back to work, but not at full schedule as per se. So I am glad to see the economy, getting back. We are in desperate need. We still have citizens, Felicia, that still waiting on those infamous grants, still waiting on those infamous promises that have do not appear to have materialized. So we ask ourselves, we've been in lockdown for almost 2 months. I technically almost 2 months. Yeah, it's 2 months. And where are those infamous promises that were so needed in time of need? That's what we need to ask ourselves as citizens.
Indeed, and that was going to be my second question because we heard, I mean, they tried to make a lot of hullabaloo about the first rollout of the grants. I'm not certain of the number of people who have received grants to date, but that is still just the first month of the salary relief grants. Like you were saying, we're well into the second month. The first lockdown, the notice of the first lockdown came on March the 13th. It was official the week after. So we've roughly
Right.
been in lockdown for about going on 2.5 months, soon to be 3 months. And we have still only heard that people have received salary grants for 1 month. Some of these people, and our Labour Minister, Jennifer Baptiste Primer, she was pointing out the fact, and she made a point to note that public servants are not going to lose their jobs, and as much as they were not working, they're still going to have jobs. However, where we are going to see the job losses are in the private sector, and we know this to be true. This is an election year. The government can't afford to fire public servants, even if they are a burden, even if we have many redundancies, which we know we have in the public service, even though they're operating at 50% capacity, even though they are operating at 50% productivity, which is what the public service has been calculated to be operating at based on just the very convoluted structure that they have that does not see proper promotion process, that sees a lot of nepotism and cronyism and bringing your friends and family. Based on all of that, we know for a fact that the government in this election year is not going to fire any public servants. And I mean, I can't blame them. I would not want to be the man responsible for telling public servants you don't have a job and then come seeking their votes come for 60,000 people come general election time. But according to what the minister said, the private service, the private sector, the not the private service, the private sector, the small business owners, those loans, Misha, the loans available for small business owners, guess what? They still haven't been out yet. They have not been
No,
released yet. It's
no.
still something that's being discussed, and I'm like, I'm hearing the same thing over and over.
Oh,
But the small business owners, those who have been impacted the greatest by this, because unlike the public servants, they aren't guaranteed a job because it's election year, and they aren't guaranteed a job because the prime minister and his cabinet ministers and the parliament are going to ensure that they have jobs. So what becomes of them? What becomes of them who got their first $1,500 and are awaiting the second installment of this? Because it's valid up to 3 months. You're supposed to get that relief up to 3 months. What becomes of them?
That is the question, Felicia. I mean, we have been speaking since this COVID-19, situation. We have been speaking in detail about the various announcements that were made in terms of the not only the $1,500 grant. The last figure I saw was 16 million, supposedly 16 to 18 million, but it still does not cover the 30,000 that supposedly applied and are still applying in need. So that alone is of question. The $2,500 grant we see that has had no we have seen no data on in with regards to that. All we have heard is that it is mostly applicants that are fraudulent. So we need to ask ourselves, what does the small business owner do? You and I know the value of $1,500 in Trinidad is almost joke like. It is nothing that can take a family through a week. It cannot support a family for a week. We know that. Going to the grocery in Trinidad, I always say it is one of the most frustrating situations I've ever experienced, because you go there, you see the overpriced goods, you see the taking advantage of the average citizen, things that are priced so low in the US that are imported have now taken on 10 times the value of their the product. And you know this for a fact. As you know, I've lived abroad. I know the pricing. So you see this $1,500 is simply a joke. I don't think we haven't seen any extra figures released in the past few weeks of money. Last week we didn't see anything. So that this alone tells you this is going to probably come to a slow halt. It's going to start to, as people start to go back to work, people will forget that this grant was promised for 3 months, that these monies were promised for 3 months, because everybody is going natural. Human behavior is just going to get back into the role of everything. But what happened to that money, Felicia? That's what we need to start and continue asking the government. What happened to that money? Because the last big figure we saw of 934 million, what did we say? 800, almost 800 million was in VAT refunds for businesses. So where
Yeah.
did the average citizen benefit?
Indeed, and I have a friend, one of my best friends. She lives in New York, and I mean I've been following her posts in terms of the Trump administration. Um, I guess their response to COVID-19, and one thing that I see her complaining about, and when you think about it in retrospect, when you think about it as it relates to Trinidad and Tobago, we're kind of doing a similar thing. So one of the things that she's complaining about is the fact, if you're hearing that noise again, economic activity has resumed.
Yeah.
She's complaining about, and she said many Americans are complaining about the fact that they have spent, well, their economy is much bigger than ours, so they spent a couple $1 trillion thus far on COVID-19, but most of it was spent on big corporations and bailing out big businesses. And we're seeing that a similar thing, a similar trend happening here in Trinidad and Tobago. And she's complaining that, the small the small retail outlets and the small business owners and the self-employed, that they themselves I don't think that they are waiting for $1,500 or 300 US like us. Thank God
Mm.
they faring a little bit, but they still haven't been benefiting as much as the larger corporations, which have received tremendous billions of dollars, among the trillions in bailouts from the United States government. We're seeing it here in Trinidad and Tobago. The first people to get their money were the people who got their VAT funds, the people who got their income
Mhm.
tax. But the Caribbean Airlines got that $400 million bailout. And again, a lot of big businesses and big corporations and businesses that you would think can ideally, well, without COVID-19 relief, could have defended and well, fended for themselves. But then the small business owners, the small retail outlet in Trinity Mall that has to pay $35,000 rent a month and be
Mhm.
told by their landlord that you have to pay this, or we don't know what is going to be a situation. What about them and the self-employed and the ones who work for small entities that could not keep them on during COVID-19? And I mean, the reality is, I feel sorry for a lot of people who would have lost their jobs during COVID-19. But then I also feel sorry for the businesses, the small businesses that had to let
Yes.
employees go because they themselves just could not afford to pay people when their small private business is not faring well due to everything facing us right now. And that the loan that Coleman Bird keeps talking about, that Jennifer Baptiste Primus and the Prime Minister keeps talking about, and just giving a lot of lip service to, it has yet to really touch the pockets of the people who are being impacted the most by this COVID-19. I don't want to say the most because there's still another layer of vulnerability. The people
Right.
who daily paid workers who've been laid off and who have not been able to work since. One of the ladies who we distributed a hamper to, she called me last week. She said, that those items are done and I really need help. And I had to find it in my own pocket to go and help her because I felt like my heart went out to her, but I can't help everybody. What about those
Right.
people?
Felicia, it just goes to show, I mean, we continue to say that, how out of touch the present administration is with with the average person on the ground. The average person on the ground did not have 2 weeks of food in their household. We know that for a fact. We saw after 2 weeks, we saw that trend. The average person does not even have a month's worth of savings to carry them through. So people were literally struggling from the get go. The daily paid workers, they were literally surviving. The fruit vendors, the street vendors, they were surviving day to day. And that was what was so evident with this administration, that they were so out of touch to what the average person was going through. I mean, we saw the delays and delays of the grants being issued. But when you go back to the small business owner, why was the small business owner given the option of a loan, and the big business owner was immediately expedited taxpayers' money? That's what we need to ask ourselves. Why were they the companies that clearly can survive? Not saying there isn't a loss, of course there is, but why was the small business owner given the option of more debt, and the big businesses were literally in the millions? There were checks issued in the millions for the big business owner. So we are seeing a trend. We see that in the US, and I too observed in the US that over and over there were huge organizations that make millions a year that were given federal aid, where the average person is continues to struggle. And we have to ask ourselves, are we electing leadership that knows the average person on the ground, what you are going through? Are the MPs currently in office in their constituencies, as you indicated, are they reaching out to these same people in the constituencies to understand what the average person is going through? A little hamper was not meant to last you more than a week. Let's be real. It was not going to last you. What did they think by giving this one hamper distribution. Did we think it was going to last us a month? Was that the assumption that this was going to last us a month? So we continue to see an administration that is clearly out of touch in terms of the average citizen of Trinidad and Tobago.
Indeed. And speaking of output, I listened briefly. This one wasn't as funny in terms of the press conference. So the press conference last week, Thursday, that I listened to, that was a nice joke. And I don't know if you saw the show that I did on Friday with Kezia and Philip made a guest appearance, but we deconstructed that entire press post cabinet briefing last week Tuesday, and Michelle, I was driving while I was listening to it. I happened to switch it by accident, and it was the most hilarious thing that I have ever heard in terms of press conferences. Keith Rowley. I mean, I give him an F as a prime minister, but I definitely give him an A as a comedian. He had me crying tears driving down the Diego Martin Highway. But his press conference on Saturday, I didn't listen to it in its entirety. I chose to read the bullet point summary of that one. But I did tune into Peace again by accident, and I heard a specific concern come up, which deals mostly with the parents of children. Well, parents of children. These are parents who now have to return to work. As we know, schools are closed and will be closed for another 3 months, June, July, August. Well, 4 months when you think about it. Um, well, if you're counting the start of September, 3 months. But schools are going to be closed for another while, and we have parents now returning to work. I remember one journalist asked a question about pandemic leave, if that was going to be something that they would be allowed. I mean, you're looking now because Miss Jennifer Baptiste Primus was asked the question, what is being put in place in terms of these things, in terms of people who would have used up all of their leave in the past couple of weeks, what can they do? And it seems that there has not been any proper planning and thought going into this. And someone also asked the question about workplace safety. So there's the fact that you have to deal with your children. You're now being sent back to work. Your children are home. Some people don't have caregivers to look after their kids. What is being done with them? And the minister responded and saying that people who with childcare needs can work virtually. There's a difference between can and must, because
Yeah.
we all know that the prime minister can say many things, and then when it comes to implementation, he leaves it at the discretion of the business, of the managers of the organization to decide if they will implement or not. Like when he said
Yes.
rent landlords have a heart, don't charge rent, and then we had people being told that they were going to be evicted. So being told you should do something versus you must do something, it's two completely different things. And some people are very concerned about the issue of childcare and who's going to look after their kids. We saw during this time an increase in incest and violence against children and women cases. Now that parents are going back home, I don't want to say that it's going to get worse, but now that parents are going back out to work, I don't want to say that it's going to get worse, but I don't see how that situation is going to be made better. We are now reopening phase 3 ahead of schedule. We we're still asking questions, and I saw that in the article where someone asked, what are the preparations and the schedules for the new normal, and they're now drafting that information. They're now drafting how workplaces should be operating. And I'm thinking, should all of this not have been done ahead of phase 3 opening? I mean, I'm very happy that people are going back out to work. They are going to I guess for some people regain their employment. But all of these things in terms of operating under the new normal, where was the thought and preparation in all of the weeks before we had to reopen? Where was that then? How come we're now doing compiling evidence and studies to determine how we are going to
Exactly.
operate?
Exactly, Felicia. I thought the same thing. I could not watch. I read the bullet points as you did, and the first thing I was thinking, okay, here we go again, being reactive as a government. We are not proactive. We've had several weeks to plan. That is clear and that is obvious. I would have given the option to especially for the public workers in terms of phasing them phasing for them to come out. I would not have just given the whole clearance of Monday, everyone being out. I would have kind of phased it. I would have planned it accordingly. I would have, again, taken the needs of the base of the employees. How many are dealing with children? Because when you think about it, Felicia, that announcement was made when Saturday? That announcement was made
Saturday.
Saturday. So under 48 hours to prepare, to have a babysitter, to prepare, and probably you don't even have the money. Let's be real. The majority of them don't have the money to pay for a babysitter. So that alone did not give sufficient timing for planning and execution. We talked about the first week we heard this big terminology of pandemic leave. And did you notice since we've met every Monday since then, we have heard no reference to pandemic leave after that. It is completely gone off the radar. They were told in the beginning as a hype that you could apply for pandemic leave once all of your benefits have been used. But we have heard nothing else on that. We have heard nothing guiding the citizens on how to apply for that. Is it available? What is because I am positive there are a number of public workers that cannot go out to work simply because of the fact that the kids are home today. So we have the reactive governance that we've always continued to bring to your attention as the public. And people say, why do we bring out these issues? Because that is what government is for. They've had several weeks to plan this and execute it, but instead we're being reactive. And they're probably thinking the public will be in favor of this June 1st execution and bringing the economy back, when in fact a majority of the public probably is experiencing a bit of turmoil in terms of themselves getting back. I am positive, Felicia, I could say this without a doubt, that certain people probably don't even have taxi money to get to work today.
Michelle, I most like I said, hearing the economic activity resuming around me this morning and hearing familiar songs that you would hear when things were hustling and bustling. But I looked out, and one of the ways I gauge whether it's a vacation period, whether it is a Monday or Wednesday, believe it or not, is I live on a hill, and when I look straight down, I see straight ahead of the busiest street in Belmont, and depending on the traffic on that street, you can basically determine what day of the week it is, whether it's a July August vacation.
Mhm.
And I look down that street and I'm seeing a more than average number of cars, but it's not what it would be like for a Monday morning during a hustle and bustle economic booming period in the operations of the country. And clearly that means a lot of people are still home. Some people,
Mhm.
like you said, 48 hours is not really enough to give people time to prepare to go back out to work as well. What about those places that have been closed for so long, like the malls and the cinemas, etc.? What about those places? So isn't that just today, 48 hours later, you're just going to be prepared? Like or did they get a heads up like KFC got when they reopened? I mean, I
Mhm.
have to assume that they did, but what about the places that did not get that heads up? Are they prepared to really open today? And I mean, of course, you'd want to open as soon as possible, but again, the preparation and the planning and the I would think that at least a week's warning would have been
Yes.
sufficient to let people know. I asked this question when somebody said, they said no, KFC wasn't given a heads up to reopen. I said it takes time to order chicken. It takes time to call workers back out to work and put them on a shift schedule. It takes time to reopen the fryers and change the oil and all of this. And if you're telling me that between Saturday and Sunday, Christian Mute and the rest of the Prestige Holdings family,
Hmm.
then I think they should be our new government, because that is an efficiency beyond all levels of efficiency. But let's talk reality here, and the reality of what it would take to restart an organization, restart a business that has been closed for 2 going on 3 months. The practicality of that situation is you are going to need some time. So I'm assuming this week is probably going to be a slow one for many businesses that are reopening. I assume the dentists and all of the people listed, the engineers, etc., they may have to take some time to reopen. But I wanted to
Yeah.
mention something as well. We're reopening everything, and I saw somebody post a status about this. I was supposed to send it to Satish. We're opening the malls before the beaches. COVID 19 has
Mm.
been proven to have a low survivability rate in hot climates. The sun kills COVID 19 in under 3 minutes, under 2 minutes actually. How is it that we're opening a stuffy air conditioned mall before the beaches? Does that make any kind of sense to you, Michelle?
Felicia, I saw the same post, and it makes you think, right? It really makes you think. It is the objective for us, is for the present administration, for us just not to congregate. I mean, because as you know, I live off the beach, and yes, Saturday was a holiday, and I could have done with a nice little beach swim and relaxation. There was nobody on the beach, and you think to yourself, what is the reasoning of the beach? Because in the US, I have, we're tracking all of the activity. And worldwide, Spain, I saw Spain, US, several countries have opened up the beaches. Um, what is our hesitancy with the beach? I'm not too sure. When from a medical standpoint, we have heard that sunlight is effective in combating COVID-19. So you have to wonder: is there another motive behind this? Is it just to keep us in check as a public? That's what we need to ask ourselves.
We do, because we had over this weekend a couple government ministers gathering on one stage. It didn't look like they were social
Mhm.
distancing. They had on no masks, and there were more than five of them standing up in one particular area. So, what is the difference between what they were doing and what I would be doing in my nice little bathing suit spread out in Maracas Beach? I don't know, because the last time I went to the beach, Michelle, it was actually the week of the COVID 19 stay home order. The first week I went on the
Right.
Wednesday, and they they had not put that rule in yet. Actually, I felt like they put that rule in because of me, because I went to the beach and I took my pictures, and then come Friday, that was Wednesday. Come Friday, there was this whole that's when they shut down and they put guards by
Yes.
Mac Reef and all this. So I don't know. Maybe I was the person who caused them to officially lock down the beaches. But when I went to the beach that Wednesday, Michelle, there was literally me and about five other people. There, there was so much room for social distancing. Firstly, when I go to the
Right.
beach, I don't like to be crowded. I find my own space. So unless I'm going to sneeze on somebody, I never really understood what was the point of restricting people from using the beaches. And if you're saying that you didn't want people congregating in large numbers, okay, but then we're now about to do that starting today in all of the malls in Trinidad
Hmm.
and Tobago. Then I
Right.
don't understand what we're doing as it pertains to the beaches and what we're doing in terms of keeping people away. And just like you, Michelle, I would have loved to be on the beach this weekend. I drive around now with a bathing suit in my car, just hoping that maybe
Hmm.
in one press conference they might say the beaches are open. I can make a U-turn and just dive. But as it is right now, it's another thing that I don't understand as it pertains to this. We have flexi time can be used to minimize the number of people in the office and on the roads. all retail
Mhm.
establishments to reopen, restrictions on dental care, physical therapy in pools, and occupational health and therapy lifted, all NLCB outlets to reopen.
We have
You
to
get a
wonder, don't we? You just have to do, you have to, as we have been doing, Felicia, in several weeks, we just have to, it is really an aha moment when you think of the decisions that are being made. A mall versus the beach, I'm not too sure where the difference is going to be. And you know what I was thinking, Felicia, in terms of the beach? I was just thinking from the mental standpoint. I mean, it's by now citizens are getting cabin fever. And from a mental standpoint, from a health standpoint, I believe the beaches would have been a proactive step to kind of basically promote a sense of relax, a sense of normalcy in people's life, a sense of enjoyment. Eventually, we
yeah.
are going to have to open the beaches. That is, I mean, we're not going to keep them closed. They could have did a little bit of patrolling just to kindly remind people of social distancing. And like yourself, I don't think people like to sit on top of each other at the beach. And you could have controlled the entry too. You could have controlled the entry and cut off at a certain time. But I believe we have to get back to the relaxation and to the entertainment aspect of life because people are going to get frustrated. People are experiencing, we have not really spoken about the mental side of this pandemic and what it can
Mhm.
really do to citizens. We were talking about the economy part of it, the financial, but the actual mental side of it, the government has really not addressed. I have not seen any services that have been offered. We talk about social welfare, and I know that's one of your points that you like to mention. We have not really emphasized that. What about the citizens that are really not coping with this? On top of the financial stress, you are now going through a mental stress.
Indeed, and it's something that if you're already not a a good frame of mind mentally, if you have a history of mental illness or mental illness in your family, cabin fever, I'm discovering, Michelle, is no joke. It's nothing to take lightly.
Mhm.
We people on those cruise ships committing suicide. I mean, it's a time where some people are experiencing a loss of income. If you have lost a family member due to COVID-19, you're experiencing that loss as well. It's not an easy time for people. And Trinidad and Tobago, we don't treat with mental illness and depression the way you should be treating with depression and mental illness, which is it's an illness. It's something that is not a joke. You can't tell somebody who's depressed smile and you'll feel better. It's a clinical mental an imbalance in your brain, a chemical
Right.
imbalance that the people actually need, and some people actually need medication to have treated. And during this time, I mean, I cannot imagine what it may and it is like to those people who cannot um, afford to get therapy and who are really going through a hard time right now. I don't want to say this is the reason why seeing so many seeing an increase in domestic violence. But before COVID-19, we never had a proper structure with to deal with violence, to deal with mental illness, to deal with clinically depressed and people who deal with anxiety. So it is no wonder that all of these symptoms are coming out now, which is just symptoms of a very deep and intrinsic issue, which, which is that this country does not really pay real attention to mental illness. Anyway, moving on to another topic. Today is also, as much as it's the rollout of uh, phase three of the COVID-19 reopening restriction, today is actually also the start of hurricane season. Hurricane season begins today. And out of that piece of information, which we are going to discuss in depth now, we have the question of the day, which is: do you think Trinidad and Tobago is prepared for the hurricane season? And I mean, like I say, Michelle, like I said earlier in the show, we survived COVID-19. Well, we're surviving COVID-19, and what next? What next is now hurricane season, which is predicted to be, well, at least in terms of the abnormal rainfall that we're expected to get, it's supposed to be the wettest season, wettest rainy season that we have had in a while. Every evening, Madam Siguni does her news report. She rings the alarm bells and let us know that we are approaching what is going to be the wettest rainy season we've had in a couple of years. And I don't know how to even quantify and qualify that, seeing as every rainy season seems to be just as bad as the one before it. If we're expecting even higher levels of rainfall this year, we might be Trinidad and Tobago might become a swimming pool. I mean, there's no other way I can explain it other than
Mm-hmm.
that because right now the lagoon that was supposedly in central and in south seems to have moved all across Trinidad and Tobago. Everywhere is a lagoon now. When you think about it, you walk down Charlotte Street, Port of Spain, that's the lagoon. You walk down South Key, Port of Spain, that's the lagoon as well. You go to Greenvale, that's the biggest lagoon that we probably have right now in
Mm-hmm.
Trinidad. Hurricane season is about to begin. Are we prepared for it, Michelle? Do you think that we are in a state of preparedness for this?
Felicia, when you hear hurricane season, two things I think of in Trinidad. I hear Wassa saying the reservoir is still low. That's what I hear. And then I also hear flooding. We have become as a nation the acceptance of flooding as the norm. Our mobilization team, I don't know if you, I'm sure you've seen the videos. Our mobilization team has been on the ground highlighting the neglect of the drainage and upkeep of the pathways for waters to flow in this country, and there is literally pathways, canals, reservoirs that have not, they clearly have not been maintained in over months, right? So this is naturally going to lead to flooding in that constituency. We have highlighted it in several videos that the neglect we continue to experience from the local government sector, and in reality, it is the Ministry of Local Government. But we are not prepared. We are never prepared, Felicia. How every year do we not talk about the same flooding? Every year, PEP is on the ground assisting flood victims. Every year, it is just the norm in Trinidad. We are not proactive. We are just a reactive. Citizens continue to be happy when we give them these cheap mattresses and a hamper for food because your whole house was flooded out. You have to think of the reasoning. What are we thinking as a nation? We continue to experience millions and millions of dollars in flood damage every year, but yet we have never taken proactive measures. Now we're hearing to solve flooding, the present administration needs another 5 years, Felicia. Tell me what happened to the past 5 years.
I don't know. It's the evaluation of this because we know in the next 5 years we're also going to hear we need another 5 years because guess what? The 5 years that we had before, that was just to do the consultation. That was just to do the planning and bring out the engineers and pay a couple $1 million to know what we had to do. Or we said that we were doing that before. Well, the study had to be extended. We wanted it to be as thorough as possible. So the 5 years, that's actually 10 years. So give us the next 5 years, and then we might actually be able to solve it. And we will be hearing this for the next 63 years, like we have been hearing since they are going to solve the water issue back in 1957. We'd probably be hearing this well into 2030, 2040. And I mean, we had a lady calling from France last week, Friday, on the show, and she got into a little, she was not happy with the fact that Philip told her he's not going to allow her to do that. What she said on the program was that Trinidad has its problems just like any other country, just like, it's just a concentration of problems in one nation. And I agreed with him. You can't let her say that because she's basically implying that it's not as bad. And once you tell people it's not as bad, they get a level of complacency with everything wrong that is going on. And that's what we've been living in a place of comfort and complacency, despite all of the drama and the nonsense that is happening around us. We try to explain it away. We always look at the worst countries to compare ourselves to. Are we doing bad? Look at Somalia. Look at Zimbabwe. We're not that bad. Look at Ghana. We at least we can
Right.
still at least get water 2, 3 times a day. They don't even get water at all. And I'm like, why are we constantly striving to be the worst? Why are we constantly comparing ourselves to the worst? I use this analogy. There's no parent who would ever see a child's report card where they came 40 years out of 45 and say, oh, at least he wasn't 45th. No, they look at the fact that there are 39 people ahead of you and they're saying you need to constantly, I'm not saying that you need to be first in test, but every time you pass an exam, you need to constantly be aiming to move up, not down. You're not supposed to be looking behind you and say, at least I'm not that bad. No, you're supposed to always want to be the best. Why do we don't accept mediocrity for our children and ourselves? Why do we accept mediocrity for our country? Why?
And Felicia, was that caller Trinidadian living in France or was she French? Was she
She was a
the caller
Trinidadian
that?
living in France, but she left about 40 years ago, and her
Right.
memories of Trinidad is bathing in a bucket. And she said, she understands that it's still like that, but she's saying that she's understanding, but I don't think she really even understands the depth of her words. When you can say that you left this country 40 years ago, and where you used to bathe in a bucket, and you're now saying that you are going to return because she wants to retire back to Trinidad and Tobago. You're now saying that the same country you left 40 years ago, you went to a first world country, you got water 24/7 in your pipe. You are now
Right.
saying you are prepared to come back to a country that has made no movement, no real advancement in the past 40 years. That's what I don't think she understood the depth
Good. Yeah.
and the reality of her words and what she was saying. Maybe and she's saying that she might experience a culture shock, but it's not just a culture shock she's going to experience. It's a complete systematic and fundamental breakdown of services she's going to experience when you come back here. When you live in Trinidad and Tobago, you marvel when something does actually work. You marvel when you go to the
Right.
licensing office and you don't have to come back tomorrow because the photo machine is actually working today. These are things that you marvel
Correct.
at. Good service is something that we treat as an abnormality. We're accustomed to I was going to use the bad way, but we're accustomed to bad service here in France. We're accustomed to things not working. And going from a first world country, in theory, back to a third world, fourth world, in some cases, kind of mentality. It's in theory, it sounds like, oh, well, it's going to be culture shock. That's not just culture shock, that is a
No.
complete reversal of everything that you have known as progress. And for all the people who bet on the Progressive Empowerment Party, it's because they want to retire in a country that doesn't have to be just like America, or doesn't have to be a little Europe or little Canada, but it has to at least work. I have to at least turn on my pipe to wash my
Right.
vegetables, to make my salad, and see water coming out. That's the basics that they
Felicia,
want.
and I refer to the caller because, as you know, I made that transition 12 years ago. And visiting Trinidad and living in Trinidad is two different things. And, you come here and you visit and you pass through and the euphoria of being home and, you're excited and you're with family. So you tend to ignore the dysfunctionality while you are here. But when you come here to live, and to that caller and to those that say it's not so bad, let me give you an example of how deliberate we are in Trinidad. We have government workers that are paid a full month salary to maintain the drains, maintain the sidewalks and so forth from overgrown grass and so forth. And they work 2 to 3 hours a day, and by 9 o'clock they're done. right? So that doesn't happen in France. That doesn't happen in US. We could learn, we could use that productivity or lack of productivity for them to do the work of 8 hours. But instead, in Trinidad, we're so laid back that we tend to, okay, you work your 3 hours. I gave you this to do and you finished it, and that's it. That's how we work in Trinidad. Hence the reason our drainage and flooding is such a monumental task in Trinidad, because we neglect, deliberately neglect, because we're not a productive country. So when you go to France, I can guarantee you, I've been there, you do not see overgrown drains. You do not see filth. You don't see trash not picked up for weeks. You don't see that. You don't see people coming home by noon, by 9 o'clock, and they're telling you they're coming from work. How do you expect us to go forward as a nation if these deliberate dysfunctionality continues? This is the reason the Progressive Empowerment Party highlights these issues. In order to get first world, we have to practice first world standards. And working a few hours a day is not going to get us there. You're saying the public sector is 50% at productivity. I actually believe it's probably about 20, from a standpoint of knowing how a productive environment should work. We're probably operating at 20 to 30% productivity level. And that is
Mm.
what we should be concerned about. That is what the average, from a global standpoint, the average employee only gives you 5 to 6 hours. That's a global standpoint, Felicia. So imagine in Trinidad, where we're so much below, we're getting about 2 to 3 hours of production from an average employee. And then we wonder, why doesn't anything work? We're not even giving full production rate. So when callers call for, until you've lived here, trust me, I've lived in first world countries. Trust me, until you come here and see, as Felicia indicated, you turn on your pipe and there is no water. You hit a pothole and you have to buy a $500 tire. Until you're dodging for your life just to reach a 15-minute death, you will see what we are referring to. The dysfunctionality is at another level in Trinidad.
It is at a whole nother level. And I, for everything that you just said, Michelle, and I mean, the caller last week, she was not happy with us saying these things, but it's not to say it, and I told her it wasn't to embarrass you and call out
No.
your view, but it's to point you to the reality of what you are going to be coming back to it. I mean, you have a nice romantic view of Trinidad and Tobago and the beaches and the friendly people. That's all well and good, but if we accept Trinidad and Tobago as it is right now, and explain away the bad sides of it, then we're basically accepting the rubbish. And I say rubbish literally and metaphorically, because there is rubbish everywhere you look, Michelle. In my constituency
Yes.
alone, my electoral district of Belmont East, there are places that if you had to do a tour and take people, that you can always guarantee that you would have garbage there, no matter what time of the
Felicia,
day.
walking into Port of Spain, and you know that because you're in that area, and as you indicated, such neglect. They have the audacity to have cruise ships docking there in that filth. We don't even take the time to the feces, the filth, the smell of Port of Spain. I have been to 99% of the Caribbean through the cruise lines. I have got off on almost every island. And one thing that, at least where the ship was docking, the governments ensured that area was clean, was
At least,
enticing. I mean, enticing, making sure that the aroma, you felt as though you were in the Caribbean. We don't even have the audacity to do that here. You walk off, there's vagrants, there is filth in Port of Spain is another level of filth. And we have the audacity to have ships
there's
docking there.
feces. There's literal feces. You can walk in Port of Spain and mash actual human
Yes,
feces That
Feces.
for me is something that I have seen as a child, and today as 32-year-old woman, I cannot comprehend. I cannot comprehend that in our major um what do you call that, banking, in a major banking district, outside Royal Bank, across the road from Republic Bank, two banks down from Scotia Bank, across the road from the monumental statue in the
Yes.
middle of Port Spain, you have vagrants, homeless people sleeping in their own feces,
Yes.
where people, just like you said, cruise ship people docking to come and visit Trinidad have to pass, have to walk. The only part about wearing a mask now that I'm glad about is that I don't have to smell what Port of Spain smells like on a regular. And that is
Exactly.
the truth.
I mean, have
Urine
we no
and
shame?
that is what it smells like.
Have we
Was
no
that
shame,
sorry?
Felicia? I said, have we no shame? How can
I
you,
have.
these are ministers that have visited other countries, Felicia. You go to Cayman Islands, and I am not joking there. I've been there literally thousands of times. And Cayman Islands, the downtown area is so clean, I could basically say I can eat off the floor. That is how clean that area, where the ships dock, it is so clean. Literally eat off the ground. I have been to Bermuda. I have been to other countries that do not have other than am I am I okay.
You were
Yeah,
speaking
we're
about
not even yeah, we're not even trying to be appealing. We're having the ships dock there and into this filth. How do we expect people to perceive our beautiful island? When you see vagrants, when you see fees, there's not even a cleanup program in Port of Spain. I mean, I cannot tell you the last time I've actually parked my car and go to Port of Spain and actually walked around. I refuse to do that. And I can tell you it has been years since I've done that.
we, for a very religious society, and you know, we have a lot. This is Trinidad and Tobago is a very religious society, and there's a saying in the Bible: "This cleanliness is next to godliness." And if that was any reflection of who we are, then we're clearly not a very godly society, which is odd
Yes.
enough because people are clamoring for churches to be reopened, clearly pointing to the fact that we miss, that closeness with God, and congregating amongst our peers, etc. But looking at the how Port of Spain looks, and not just Port of Spain, but Port of Spain being a major example, seeing as it
Yes.
is the capital city, seeing it as it is the place where foreigners come in and dock and see and walk about. When I know sometimes when I see these foreigners walking around, and you know them with their big backpacks and their cameras, etc., I wonder, what are these people thinking? What is
Yes.
actually going through their heads? Are they smelling the same thing I'm smelling? And
Of course
this
they
is the
are.
and this is what I try. I think we were trying to get through to that caller last week. That is not enough to say that yes, we have our bad parts. We have our bad parts for a reason. The bad parts of Trinidad and Tobago, the feces and the smell and the garbage and the disorder. All of that is a symptom of a nation that is failing.
Yes.
And to deal with those symptoms, you have to deal with the core problem, which is that we have never had real governance in this country.
Yes.
With that, I'm going to take
Yes.
a quick break and come back because it is 9 o'clock, and we are opening the phone lines for you to call in when we come back from the break, as well as continuing the discussion that we're having this morning. Please stay with us. We will be right back.
Antel is Trinidad's most reliable and technically experienced ICT company, providers of quality structured cabling, Cat6 data fiber, and power cables. We also stock cabling infrastructure basket-type cable trays for server rooms and data centers. Antel also installs and maintains video security systems including cameras, alarms, and electronic entrance locks for businesses and residential properties. Call Antel 674-1406 or 783-9250.
Trinidad and Tobago is in a crisis.
For far too long, our people have been abused and silenced by our politicians and the business elite.
Just look around you. People are losing their jobs. Crime is at an all-time high. Our justice, education, and health systems have failed.
We all know the truth behind all that is wrong in our country. Corruption is destroying us. Billions of our dollars are being looted by a small group of business people that use our politicians to divide and distract us,
so they can take what they want, leaving us with no hope for a better country.
All of this is because we've never had leaders who seek the interests of the citizenry as their first priority.
I am here because I'm not taking it anymore.
I am here because I am not taking it anymore.
I am fed up of politics as it is in Trinidad and Tobago.
It is time we elect leaders with the backbone and the love of our people to go after the corrupt, evil elements in our country, hell-bent on serving their own pockets while we suffer.
And it is time that we as a nation take a collective stand against wrongdoing.
So we are making a plea to the nation to rally behind us.
Because our freedom of speech is being threatened by those who don't want us speaking out on these issues.
A man that I greatly respect is one of those leaders fighting for a better country. His name is Philip Edward Alexander, and he has bravely challenged the people and institutions that are destroying our nation.
To date, he has been threatened with 5 lawsuits for having the courage to ask state agency UDCOT on why the renovations of the President's house cost $89 million.
When experts in the field have estimated that that job should have never crossed 20 million.
Where did the rest of our money go?
We refuse to stand by and allow any agency to use our courts to try and silence and punish Philip or any other citizen of our country for trying to seek the truth.
If you're fed up of corruption and want to be a part of real change, support Philip and the Progressive Empowerment Party in this fight.
This fight is not for him or us to bear alone.
It is a fight for you, our loved ones, and our friends.
It is a fight for the future of our country.
You can help by making a contribution to Philip's legal fees and help him and PEP expose the truth and shine light over the darkness of corruption. Go to our website at peptt.com, click on donate and see all the ways you can pitch in.
There is hope. Our country can be saved, but we all need to stand together. My name is Felicia Holder, Chairman of the Progressive Empowerment Party, and I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support.
I support. I support.
I support. I support.
I support.
I support Philip Edward Alexander and the PEP.
And we're back with you this morning. We have a couple birthdays to recognize. We haven't had a couple in a while, but I want to say happy birthday to Dominic Lopez. He is our mobilization officer. Andy Suku, he is a very strong pepper. Paul Daniel Nahus, he is a friend of, well, he's a very close and dear ally of the PEP, and Sharon Sajuddin, she's the owner of Roti Cafe, which has become unanimously, well, synonymous with Progressive Empowerment Party. Us peppers, Roti Cafe is a staple of many of us in this party, particularly our political leader who loves to eat her lobster roti. If you have never tried a lobster roti from Roti Cafe, you are missing out on life. Go to it's in Santa Cruz near the roundabout there by the fire station. Trust me, try that lobster roti. You will not regret it. Put sliced pepper. It's life. But happy birthday to you, Dominic, Andy, Paul, and Sharon. Wishing you a wonderful day today. Anyway, we are opening the phone lines for you to call in and give us your take on everything we have discussed today. We're also continuing the discussion with that number to call in if you would like to touch base with us is 769-4590. We would be happy to take your call. In a little bit, I want to make a call to follow up with, I almost called her name, follow up with that young lady from the cruise ship who called us last week, Tuesday, and really evoked some emotions out of the panel. Both Michelle and I were on the panel today. And I wanted to follow up with her because our next topic of discussion, actually two topics of discussion that kind of morphed into one. Our borders remain closed here in Trinidad and Tobago, according to National Security Minister Stuart Young on Saturday. As much as we're reopening phase 3, we're actually increasing the number of flights between Trinidad and Tobago. Domestic flights have increased. Our borders are still closed to the outside population. And the second story that morphed into this one is that on Saturday, just an hour or so, 2 hours after the announcement was made on the reopening of phase 3, Trinidad and Tobago recorded its 117th COVID-19 case, just over a month since our last case, which stood at 116 for well over 4 weeks. This 117th case came from a woman and her family, a family of 2. So 3 of them came in from the UK, and of the 3 family members, 2 were recorded as negative for COVID-19, and the woman, she tested positive for COVID-19. They're now all 3 of them are in quarantine at the
Did I? Felicia, I lost you there for a second.
Oh, I was asking, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, interesting. It is
thoughts
to
on
note. Yeah, it's very interesting because, again, another import case. I thought our borders were closed. We appear to be selectively closed. We're not fully closed. I know that for sure. We are selectively closed. We are choosing and picking and choosing who we want to enter into this country. What is really relevant to note on this case? This person was brought into Trinidad via air ambulance. So for those of you that are not familiar with air ambulance, there was a medical situation with this person. So that alone, I'm not too sure why would somebody want to come into Trinidad with a medical situation at this time. I'm not too sure. And why was this unique family of 3 granted access when we continue to have hundreds of workers stranded on the cruise lines, stranded in other countries, stranded on the oil rigs in Aruba? We're not hearing too much traction from them. So this was bound to happen, Felicia, because we are picking and choosing who we want to enter to the country. And no, our borders are not closed. We are clearly open.
Well, and only this morning I got that information from you that she came in on that, what is it, an Airbus?
Air ambulance. Air ambulance.
Because I listened to the clip of the minister breaking that news to the public. He absolutely dodged that question, very skillfully dodged that question. This is a habit of reporters. They ask 2 questions in one, only get an answer for one of the 2 questions, and because they are not very skilled in the reporting, sorry, not sorry, they forget to go back and press on the second or the first question that they would have asked. And of the 2 questions that she asked the reporter, she asked the minister how did they manage to come in and whether they were going to test other people as well. And he answered the question about testing other people. He didn't answer the question of how they came in. And I mean, the circumstances surrounding this imported case are very I would say, sketchy to say the least, because we heard nothing about this flight coming in. Probably would have heard nothing had this woman not tested positive for COVID-19. Now, I raise this question in relation to the topic of the borders being closed because, like you said, Michelle, we are obviously selectively or have selectively closed our borders. We have 342 cruise ship workers right now who are being routinely tested for COVID-19 and have repeatedly tested negative. They're all in one ship together, so there's no way on the bucket and just drops it on the ship and everybody gets it, being absolutely crazy here. There's no way that they can contract the disease. Yet we have people who are known to be COVID-19 negative. They are free of the virus. They are being denied entry into Trinidad and Tobago. 342 people. I remember when we announced, and Terence Yalting made great ceremony of announcing the fact that we have set up a parallel healthcare system to deal specifically with COVID-19. And he said we had over 900 beds. How is it now we can't facilitate 342 cruise ship workers? How is it that we can't facilitate flying in this woman and her family who came who came in like thieves in the night, and not only did they come in, they brought the virus. And I wanted to read something from a PEP member, and he put this as a status yesterday. So a family of 3 came into TNT from the UK. Strangely enough, there was nothing on the past news about this landing, but only one of them is infected. So the other 2 are immune. But forget that. When did this landing took place, and why wasn't this made public? Did Minister Young say that no one will be exempted? If that's the case, then why would the what? Oh, I guess he meant to say people. Why were the people allowed into our supposedly closed borders without a hiccup? Imagine we have citizens who were within reach of our shores, who were having the most difficulty imaginable time when they wanted to come. Sorry. Who were having the most difficulty imaginable time when they wanted to come back home. All in a pile of bleep that's piled up so high it can block out the sun. Over to you, CMO, because we know Rowley, Young, and Yalting can't do anything but lie, and they're not even good at that also. And he has some really important and pertinent questions in here. If the borders are closed, we keep hearing that the borders are closed, but obviously not to certain people. The borders are closed, but obviously not to guns, drugs, and human trafficking. The borders are closed, but only for citizens who have tested negative for the COVID-19 virus. Michelle.
Felicia, Felicia, people, we really need to wake up to what is going on. First of all, for those of you that are not familiar with an air ambulance, first of all, this is a very, very costly transportation. These are only used in extreme circumstances. So this person that entered, this family that entered into the country, were dealing with a medical situation that required medical attention as soon as they landed. For a person to come via an air, it's extremely costly. I have dealt with hundreds of medical evacuations on the ships, and literally when you arrange them, you are looking at a bill that is quite excessive of thousands of dollars. So this is not a normal entry into the country. They would have had to gone through the health minister, Felicia. They would have had to know because it's a medical arrival. So for Terence to say that he was not familiar with that and he did not, notice in the briefing, he said he did not know where they were coming from. He thinks they were coming from the UK. That's a lie because it's a medical evac. They would have had to have medical consultation upon arrival. I have dealt with those in hundreds of countries. You have to deal with the medical person on the country that you're arriving into. So that's a lie right there. Why were they granted access? Three unique people. What was so unique about this family that hundreds can be stranded off the coast of Trinidad, while this family flew in all the way from the UK and was exempted? So we need to start asking questions. Why is the government continuing to be selective in the persons they allow in this country? What we need to start asking questions. What is unique? And Felicia, if you notice the timing of that COVID-19 new case, I don't think it was a coincidence that it happened after they announced the opening of the economy. I think it was basically given deliberately after to kind of go under the radar.
And that's a weird thing though, because you notice in the past couple of weeks, even though we've been COVID-19 free, the Minister of Health has been insistent that the second wave was coming and that the first wave is not over and we can't do this and be careful and citizens, you all shouldn't go out and stay home and roadblocks and all of this. And if you do this, we will get the next case and people and I mean that sparked the international TikTok Philip challenge, which asks the questions: if the borders closed and the airports locked down, how are we getting the second wave from Terrence Yamami? And I mean, it was a funny question, but it was a legitimate, real question. If the borders closed and we locked down for 2 months now, where are we getting the second wave from? Obviously, we getting the second wave from the people that you selectively reopen the borders for. And again, it raises the question: you've been telling us for so long that we need to be so afraid and so careful about phase 2 coming to hit us. Yet, on Saturday, you basically told us two things. You're reopening the economy and, oh, we have a new case, but guess what? That's not going to impact the reopening of phase 3. So what is it? Who is this person? Is it a relative of somebody that in high office? Is this somebody who has so many exemptions surrounding them, so much secrecy surrounding them, that as much as they brought a new case of the virus into this country, we're going to reopen as normal anyway? Oh yeah, no problem, we have a new case. But just ignore what we've been saying in the past 4 months, which is that if a case, we get any more new cases, we would have to reconsider. Forget what we're saying. We're going to reopen as normal. What is it, and who is this person that brought this virus into the country? And not only did they bring the virus into the country,
Did I lose Felicia?
but but nothing seems to have changed, despite the fact that this is a significant piece of information.
Yes, which was deliberately withheld, Felicia, in the briefing. It was deliberately withheld, the air ambulance, it was deliberately withheld that this person required medical attention. I mean, the more you think about it, the more convoluted it becomes, because why would someone leave the UK to come Trinidad under medical circumstances where UK clearly has a much better efficient system? So again, we ask these questions because there is something that is questionable about this case. Was it deliberately brought into this country? Because I just find it extremely strange that the family of 3 and only one is testing. Secondly, they've arrived via air ambulance. Thirdly, notice the details around this is very sketchy, whereas the other arrivals, they were a bit more forthcoming and the information was available. Notice we're not getting too much information. They're just basically surfacing the details that they want us to know. So, Trinidad asked the question, what was the exemption on this case that we had to bring this family of 3 into the country?
Exactly. And I also have to wonder, Michelle, seeing as we are, compare those 3 people to 342 people. I would think that 3 people would be easier to manage based on what happened with the citizens stuck in Barbados. And before they came back, I believe they had to be tested for COVID-19. Was the same done for this lady and her 3 and her family, were they tested over in the UK before they were brought to Trinidad, or did we just open the borders all willy-nilly and say come back in and oh we will test you here? Did we know that we were bringing back COVID-19 positive people into our borders? And if that is the case, then Michelle, your question is very valid. Was this done intentionally? What was the, again, more questions than answers, and more, like I say, more questions than answers. I want to call back the young lady that we spoke to last week. Please, I am taking your calls. I missed one just now. I'm sorry about that. You can call me back after I complete this call. I'm calling back the young lady who we spoke to last week from the, was it RCL? She's on, Michelle, the RCL.
World Caribbean, yes. World Caribbean.
Yeah. All right.
Hi, morning.
Hi, good morning to you.
Morning. You on air already?
Yes, we're live. We're on air. We were just discussing the we were discussing, and I don't know if you're following up.
Thank you for having me, firstly.
Of course, I really wanted to have you back, and with everything that's happening right now, particularly, and I don't know if you were following the program or following local news. I don't know if you heard that we brought in 3 people last week Thursday, and one of them tested positive for COVID-19.
Yes, I heard, and I've been following up with my family members. Firstly, I must say good morning, Trinidad and Tobago, and Felicia, thank you for having me.
Good morning to you too.
I actually heard and saw, listening to the news and local radio station from being away from home. Now, I just want to let Trinidad and Tobago know, stop letting these ministers have you all in a bubble. Firstly, they are getting false information and accusing crew members. I consider myself a seafarer, a sailor, or a seaman. That is how I would honestly like to be addressed. Not as them out there and patients. We are not patients, we are human beings. We have families, we have children. You know, we are human beings like everyone else, and I don't know why it is government of Trinidad and Tobago are not helping their citizens. At the end of the day, I am carrying a Trinidad and Tobago passport. Right? I choose to be out here because I can get a work to support my 4 children. It is really hard, stressful, and frustrating to know that in this time, yes, the government took a few cruise ship workers, but it's not all of them, and that is not even my company. My question this morning is to Mr. Dayal Singh. I'll take back that Mr. for Dayal Singh. Stop spreading bad rumors on cruise ship members that we are patients. We are not patients, we are really healthy. We get tested twice a day. You know, where on land you getting tested twice a day? The company working with CDC, they are not working with Dayal Singh. They're working with CDC and Trinidad and Tobago government under Dayal Singh. Yes, we ain't saying no. But at the same time, get your facts straight, get your information straight. This is for Mr. Young. I have a question for you this morning. Why it is you want 300 and something crew members to stay on the ship, on the waters, and you're not getting your facts straight, saying the company and you listen that they could say the company, saying the government not working with them. We are the only island that the government not working with. I am so disappointed, hurt, frustrated, stressed. Mr. Young, you're sleeping with a heavy heart. Let God touch your heart and let it be lightened, because it have people out here want to come home to the families. You home with yours. Study that. You want us to come home and quarantine 14 days? That is not a problem. But my problem is why I want the company to have us out here on the water for 14 days and still want to come home and quarantine for 14 days. What sense that make? As far as I understand, there are places you can place us, but you're bringing in people, it have like a family of three, they come with the coronavirus. One of them actually come with the virus. We are out here, we are healthy. People are here. I am on sea over 97 days waiting to come home. It just Trinidad and Tobago, they wake up now, because if it was your family member or somebody in your household and hearing what's going on and seeing what's going on, it's not nice.
Like I said, we just wrapped up and we were just having the discussion on those same three people who you mentioned who came back to Trinidad and Tobago last week, Thursday. People who we were not aware were coming back in this country until we heard the news that one of them tested positive for the COVID-19 virus. And the first person I thought about actually was you. I thought about that telephone call we had last Tuesday that brought me to tears. I thought about your 4 kids back home here who I know must be missing their mom. I thought about your other 341 crew members who are being tested every day, twice a day for the virus and being told that they're negative. I thought about the 900 beds that we have in our parallel healthcare system that Terence Yalting said we set up to accommodate people who had to be repatriated to Trinidad and Tobago so that they can be quarantined. And then I thought about the fact that we have people in power, the same names that you call Minister Young and Andy Yalting and Rowley and all of these people who are in charge and responsible for our citizens, whether they are within our shores or they're outside. And the treatment that you guys are receiving, I think it is beyond unfair, it is beyond abnormal when you consider it, because the way
inhuman. It's inhuman.
It is inhumane, and you're right. I'm listening to the way he's referring to you guys as if you're a bother and a drain on his soul and on his government. Whereas, in my opinion, you people should be the ones that are getting the most attention right now. He should be understanding that you are in a situation where you just need to have some kind of reassurance from your government. I have Michelle Davis who's co-hosting the show with me right now. Michelle, anything from you to this young lady?
I mean, I as I stated last Monday, I totally feel this to the core of my heart, because I worked for the cruise line industry for 25 years. And you know what the lady is saying is they are subjected to CDC regulations, which is world standard testing twice a day. What is the issue? What is the delay with these crew members that were literally, very close to Trinidad? All the other islands have accommodated debarkation of crew members except Trinidad. I continue to follow that. Jamaica, all St. Lucia, Grenada, St. Vincent, all of these islands have accommodated the debarkation of their crew members. What is the problem in Trinidad? What is the problem? And as she indicated, the public continues to be told misinformation that Minister Young is communicating with the cruise lines. That I know probably is an untruth, because the cruise lines are extremely efficient in dealing with all of the islands. This is where they're versed at. And why is it taking so long if he is communicating with them?
You heard her response, right?
Yes, I'm with this company since 2005. It's not now I'm with this company. And just as she said, just as I fully agree 100%. Last week, 29 personnel, some St. Vincent and the Grenadines, were sent home via cruise ship. The next day I saw Young, I cannot call you Mr. I saw Young on television in a conference saying 29 people from St. Vincent have coronavirus. Mr. Young, please stand firm within your ground and help your people of Trinidad and Tobago. Because there's only certain people, as far as my eyes can see, you are helping. And I'm not going down that political road right now. Because Mr. Dialson, you yourself, I am from within your area, your constituency here. And as far as I see, you do nothing within your power to reach me or help me. My mother was before you twice, not once, twice. But the same, how should I say, with the same situation that I am in. You never even one day say, well, ma'am, what is what? You told my mother I have to fill out a form, you need ID, you need passport number, I told my mother, say, leave it, let it be. Because next election coming, I'm sure, he's not my friend, he's my mother's friend, but I'm sure you will go come in front of my door. And I'll be waiting patiently for you. You know what? I will just close my door because you never did anything to help. Not even me, not even other crew members, nobody. You're just down and calling us patients. Patience.
Is this in reference to the grant?
This is so upsetting. Pardon me?
Is this in reference to the grant when you mentioned your mom? Is this in reference to her trying to fill out the grant for assistance during the COVID-19 period?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and that has been another issue because you're not here. I guess your mom is here trying to take care of her family, your kids as well. And she's one of the people who would have received experienced difficulty filling out this salary relief grant that the government was supposed to give out.
You know, to me, I told my mom, I forget about that too, because at the end of the day, they does nothing for no one. I say, even if you're not taking with this grant, I say, forget about that. Because my family, I come from a family, mother side, father side, everyone was strong and loving and good enough to pack a box of food for my 4 children. You know? So I thank and applaud my family still at the end of the day. But Mr. Dialson, you could do plenty better than that. You might have to tear my voice, my face now, or the voice now. But you're going to see me at your office.
Well, my dear, I wanted to, like I said, I wanted to check in with you and hear what is the situation. If you heard anything new with regards to coming home. Yes.
Just 1 minute, because I have one crew member would like to speak to you just briefly.
Sure, no problem, definitely.
Hello, good day.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I am the neighbor of the crew member you were speaking to, also from Trinidad and Tobago. I just want to address the Minister of National Security, as well as the Minister of Health. What I want to say is this. The mental health of the crew members right now is under jeopardy. And I want you to consider the families and the mental health of the families of these crew members. You say this is to the Minister of National Security. You say you are trying to protect the nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. But what are you doing to protect the mental health of the nationals who are out here at sea? What are you doing to protect the mental health of the nationals who are families? And I'm talking about immediate families of these crew members who are out at sea. as my friend rightfully said, we have not seen land in over 3 months. And most of us, or I should say all of us, have had shared a total combined, each of us had done a total of so far over 30 days in actual isolation, not able to leave our cabins. So just consider what that can do to the mental health of a person, knowing that they have to look forward to another month, 14 days at sea, and possibly 14 days when they get back into the country. Consider what that will do to the mental health of those crew members. Consider what that will do to the mental health of the families and the children. I too have a family and I have children back home who are consistently asking their mother, where is daddy? Why is daddy not home? And you know, they cry when we contact them on phone. I myself, once in my life before, and I'm not just saying this, I'm speaking from experience, I went through depression already. And I know firsthand what it can do physically and mentally to a person. And what is going on right now, you know, now the company has been doing a lot to help us. They literally went over and beyond to help us. I'm being very honest here. But our own country, we are nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, and we don't feel like nationals. We feel like outcasts. And to put things into perspective, I don't want to get this political at all. There's no reason for me to do it, but I have to say this. I feel a bit betrayed by the very government that I voted in. Yes, my vote went for this government. And right now, I regret it. I'm being honest. So, this is my plea to you. Let us come home within reason. You know? Okay, you're saying you're going to let us come home, but then you say another thing that, you know, you're trying to protect the nationals of Trinidad and Tobago, but yet you're not doing anything to protect your nationals of Trinidad and Tobago who are out here. And I can't even get started on the thousands that are stranded in different countries. You say you don't want to overwhelm the healthcare system. We understand that. But there are things you can do. You know? Which, you know, my friend already mentioned, as we already established, that 3 people came in and 1 got tested positive. But nobody knew they were coming in. Honestly, we only knew they came in after they got tested positive. And we are here waiting. We already made the sacrifice for our families because you very well know that sometimes jobs are hard to come by in Trinidad and Tobago. So we make this sacrifice to come out here just to provide for our families, you know. And you may not think it, but by us being here, it is helping the economy of Trinidad and Tobago, because when we come home, we spend the money we make out here. Yeah. We bring in foreign exchange. So why we are being treated like we are not nationals? We are being treated like we are just a group of refugees trying to find a place to stay. Pay attention to the mental health of your fellow Trinidad and Tobago nationals who are stranded out here at sea. We are not nationals of the cruise ship industry. We are nationals of Trinidad and Tobago. And it is the duty of the government to help every single one, not just those who are in the country, but those who are also outside. Treat this the same way you would treat the nationals in Trinidad and Tobago. We are suffering mentally. We are. And the health professionals would know this when I say it. When you go into depression or suffer from a mental illness, it manifests itself physically in different ways. I don't want to get into the technicalities, but you need to do something better than that. And misinformation, please get the facts right. Really look into the true facts and do not glorify misinformation that is posted on Facebook and social media. And that is all I really want to say. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak.
No,
and I really hope that this message rings true and it strikes a chord with the government. Prime Minister Rowley, I respect you. Do something about your ministers. Do not allow them to continue in the path that they're going, because it'll be bad for the party. I'm just saying. Thank you.
I just have one question before you go. Is anybody from the ministry in regular contact with you and your crew?
No, nobody from the government, from the ministry, none of them has made efforts to contact us, has made efforts to reach out to us. Nobody made any efforts to see how we are feeling and how we are faring. It's only the company is really putting out every single ounce of effort to help us. You know, all the medical team on board the ship are helping us. You know, so nobody has reached out to us. Nobody's made an attempt to reach out to us. Nobody give us an invitation to reach out to them. And when we try on Facebook, because that's the only way we can, and we try on the website, no responses are coming back to us, none whatsoever. So that just goes to show why we are feeling the way we are. But I have spoken to some of my fellow Trinbagonians, and it is clear that some of them are already starting to suffer a bit of mental distress. They're showing the signs. I know the signs personally, and I'm seeing it in them. To answer the question, no, nobody reached out to us.
All right. As it is right now, this is the second time that I've had this young lady on the program. I keep her name anonymous because we know how things work in terms of victimization. I don't want her family to be victimized back home. I don't want her to be victimized while she's out there. So we are keeping your names anonymous. But every week until the situation is resolved, I do plan to keep in regular contact with you guys. I'm hoping that this show and this program reaches to Keith Rowley and his ministers. Keith Rowley, who you say you respect, but I'm sorry, I'm listening to you tell me this story here, and I'm trying to understand how you could even respect a man who is responsible for the people who have you in this situation today. I mean, somebody to earn my respect, you need to go above and beyond, and the least that they can do is give you a phone call. You and I are communicating right now over WhatsApp. We have so much technology that is out there, so much available to at least appease and reassure the people, the 342 of you who are stuck out there. And a man can't get my respect if he can't at least pick up the phone and reach out to me. So, I mean, let's agree to disagree on that matter, but as it is right now, I don't know how far.
No, I agree with you.
I don't know how far your respect is going to go. It is going to go in terms of
my respect is dwindling day by day. It's been 90 days now, and every day I lose that ounce of respect. And that's the truth.
My dear.
So there's still a tiny bit, but I'm losing every bit of it right now.
I'm going to check in with you in a week from today and let's see where your respect stands of them. As of right now, all I can say, because I don't have the power and the power of parliament to and of cabinet to write any law to reopen the borders like Stuart Young has to reopen it for the 3 people who came in on Thursday. Unfortunately, I don't have that power. Or all 342 of you would have been back here in our shows today. Maybe not in the arms of your family as yet, but at least close by and within reach. I would like to thank you for being a part of the program today. Like I said, we will touch base with you in a week. I'm hoping that a week's time is enough to change the circumstance. If not, I would be here, myself and Michelle, to be a voice of comfort, even in even if it's just for a brief time, at least until you guys can return home.
Take care.
Thank you so very, very much. And I'll be here, as I say, I am the neighbor. So, you know, I will be within arm's length to really talk. So thank you again.
Thank you very much. And we will be in touch.
Felicia,
okay.
As we were having that conversation.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Felicia, I wanted to point out something that I'm going to do some bit of more research, but as we were having that conversation, remember last week when we spoke to the young lady, I think a day or two after it was confirmed that 29 new cases of COVID for the St. Vincent that had come off the ship, right? Remember that. But while we were talking to her, it jogged my instinct to look. Currently, St. Vincent, the same St. Vincent that they said confirmed 29 new cases last week, currently only has 26 active cases. As of 26, which was last week when it was reported, only 6 new cases were confirmed. So what the lady, I just wanted to validate what they are saying of the misinformation that the public of Trinidad continues to get, that because that was basically to off balance and justify why they were not. So I'm looking at the statistics as we speak. If you want to Google it, St. Vincent only had 6 new cases as of the 26th. Last week, at the same time, it was reported in Trinidad and Tobago that 29 new cases had come from Vision of the Seas. So what the crew members are saying is exactly right. We are continuously getting misinformation about this COVID-19 situation and their inability to address the situation of our stranded citizens everywhere.
But Michelle, what you just put out in the public space there, it can't be something that we just mentioned in passing. You know, that is a blatant lie and propaganda meant and used to manipulate and control the population of Trinidad and Tobago. Lies. I can't see it, unfortunately, but please send it to me because I'm following up on that story tomorrow. Lies and propaganda. And I remember when that was released, the 29 cases, and I remember that being used as the unofficial basis as to why we are not bringing our citizens back home. Yet, if this is based on false and intentional misinformation, that is gross misbehavior. And if it is being used to justify having these people out there, Michelle, we were talking about the mental health issues. This guy had to call in and confirm everything that we were mentioning. Thank God for the liner who's dealing with the people. Thank God for them, because what would be their situation? After this, if I were in their shoes, I would be pledging allegiance to Royal Caribbean or whatever I could, because clearly my own government does not have me in mind. And that's why I had to mention to the young man, as much as you're saying you have or had respect for Keith Rowley, from the time you realized that you were out there, day 10, day 20, day 30, day 40, day 60, day 70, you reached day 90 something, and not one of them has picked up the phone, called you on WhatsApp, reached out to you on Facebook to find out, yo, bro, what's up? Not one of them? Not one?
Exactly. And I mean, I'm looking at this, Felicia. I'm going to send more information because I'm intrigued as to where this information came from and so forth. So it clearly states 29 Vincent Saint test positive, but I'm going to look into it further and provide the data so that you can address this, because at the country, it doesn't even have 29 active cases. And I've been tracking St. Vincent because I have some friends there. I actually speak to my friend every other day. How's it going? So I know they have been in the 20s for a while. So where is this information coming? Why was it released in the public to basically at a disadvantage to the crew members that are basically trying to get home? Again, crew members that are hearing this program, you know, I totally feel for you. I have been there. I've done the contracts. I've worked in the industry 25 years, and Felicia and I are here at week after week. We are going to bring this to the attention of the nation to get you home to where you belong with your families. It is I know you're strong, and I want you to remain strong. We will do our best, whatever's in our power, to bring this to a national attention level.
Indeed. And I just missed a call. We have just under 8 minutes. Please, if you want to call back, you can call back really quickly and make your point within 1 minute. We don't have much time left for the program today. There were some things that I wanted to discuss, and I will bring it up in quick passing. I see PNM and UNC, they're putting out their lineup of ministers, and I have mostly refrained from commenting on it because not my monkey, not my circus. We have Mervyn Dillon going off for Toko Sandy Grande. I mean, Mervyn Dillon, that ex-cricketer. Listen, if politics was just about taking famous faces and putting them in seats, then let me know, you know, because then I wouldn't be working hard to bring a message of real hope, opportunity, and representation to people, because I'm seeing a lot of moves being made, famous faces, but what is their track record in terms of actually delivering for the people? And when I say what is their track record, same new faces, same old party. I'm seeing people going over to parties like the PNM and the UNC and saying things that save TNT, vote policy. I want you to name one policy of the United National Congress for me. I want you to name one policy of the People's National Movement, one policy that is not a repackaged version of something you try to change the words of that came straight from the Progressive Empowerment Party's 21 policies that we know you look at, that we know you believe in, that we know you wish you could have had as your own original idea before you try to take it and go anywhere else. Yes, this is for you. You know who I'm talking about. The Progressive Empowerment Party is the only party that is talking real solutions, and not just real solutions and the hope of a new government, but a new government that is disconnected and is in no way embroiled in the corruption and allegations of misbehavior like those two political parties that you once said were the two different sides of the same coin. We are not them. We are the real change that you once believed in, that you know you lost your way somewhere along the way. We have that hope. So don't think you can find it elsewhere. It won't be found elsewhere. No amount of money that you can be given and offered change the fact that the Progressive Party is the only reason that you know about policies and change and different. Don't expect to find it anywhere else. And yes, you know who I'm talking about. Anyway, Michelle.
Every year at Christmas, we paint our houses, and I want to, you know, give this thought to the public. Every year we paint our houses, but does it change the content of our houses? We still may have the same furniture. The structure of the house has not changed. So these games that people are playing by putting different people out there as a popularity, that was the word I was looking for, as a popularity contest, is really not going to change the structure of the house. We are still, the parties are still lacking the policies, the procedures to take this country, the mindset to take this country forward. So yes, we can paint and we can present new faces, but deep down, we are still stuck with the same ideology we've been fighting for 57 years.
Indeed. Let me just take this one call before we go to break. Hello, good morning. You're live on Pep Talks in the morning.
Yes, morning to you, beautiful lady.
Morning.
I told you ago, I think what I mentioned is how the money works. I'm giving up. Remember, next to the second wave, and when my good friend was say that it comes from somebody's money. This is a total plan to create an issue to use up and spend more money. Because that's what the whole debate is about. These three people that came in, you cannot tell me that they would not test for wherever they would for the political facility. It is straight. Our people have to take for days outside and then come into the to find. So then, any form of activity that is not bringing my people home, I have a problem with it. No.
You broke up a little bit there, but I think I got the gist of your message. Thank you very much for that call, caller.
You're welcome.
All right. I mean, he said it. He summarized everything that we would have been discussing this morning. It's crazy that we brought back in people, did not test them, and then came out to say that they have COVID-19 virus, whereas we have people who are being routinely tested and being denied entry back their own country. We're nearing the end of our program. At this point, I would like to give a quick shout out to our PEP barrel sale team. This Saturday, we had our first social distancing barrel sale. I have to say it may have possibly been the best barrel sale we have ever had. I don't know if it's because it was social distancing that we got the flow, but the feel of it, the vibe, the everything about it just went so well. Michelle, on in the program, you mentioned something about the citizens and groceries and being able to afford groceries. $1,500 is no money in this country. $1,500 in a PEP barrel sale, though. You can get a lot of bang for your buck. We have boasted some of the best prices, and I say best prices because I'm one of the people who review those prices. Things that you can find in PriceMart, what you think are bulk items, you can find them cheaper in a PEP barrel sale. And we do this because we have a lot of communities who come to us, communities from areas where money and $200 is a lot of money, but $200 can go a long way. And we do our prices and our products are tailored to those people to assist as many people as possible, particularly during these times where every cent, every dollar counts and matters. And I would like to thank the entire barrel sale team: Zeda Mohammed, Usha Dabedin, Kezia Rampol, Sean Sunarine, my deputy chairman, Akil Camps, Nadini Naipol Lachman, Terrence Budram, Maurice Downs, Dion Andrews, Rohani, Sukram, so many people came out. I want to thank you all for making it such a successful event. We had the poll question: do you think Trinidad and Tobago is prepared for hurricane season? 2% of you said yes, while 98% of you said no, we are not prepared for the hurricane season. I guess the answer is in the pudding. Michelle, any closing comments from you before we wrap up for the day?
Felicia, first of all, thank you for having me. Every time we do this show, it brings more questions than answers, and it's something that I immediately finish the show and I start Googling to see if I can find the answers that we are looking for. We continue to be governed just from a mismanagement, from misinformation, and just from lack of transparency. And it is so disheartening that the citizens continue to suffer in this country. Trinidad and Tobago, you do have an option. We are the Progressive Empowerment Party. We are bringing solutions to you. We are bringing critical thinking to you. And we are bringing pertinent questions that you yourself, as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, should be asking yourself. This is not about criticizing. This is about for all of us wanting a better country. For the crew members, my heart definitely goes out for you. I am a previous crew member, and my heart literally breaks for the crew members out at sea. Stay strong. And again, Trinidad and Tobago, start thinking, ask the questions.
Indeed. Start thinking. Trinidad and Tobago and wherever you're watching us from in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of Pep Talks in the Morning. We will be back tomorrow. Deputy Political Leader and Co-Chair of the Women's Arm, Lima McLeod Wilkinson, to discuss some events that took place in a constituency walkabout she had on Saturday. For now, please enjoy the rest of your day, and remember, during this period of social distancing, quarantine, and isolation, let's stay together by staying apart. Bye-bye.